So welcome to Things Invest. We talk about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's video, 10% only. The investment we're going to talk about today would be Ethereum ticker ETH. First, just want to say happy Friday, everybody. Hope you have a very great week so far. We are looking forward to the weekend. With respect to Ethereum, as I'm recording this morning around 9:50 a.m. on the Eastern time, it's currently trading around like the $1857 level, down about 7% so far. And with respect to the option expiry that occurred last night at 4 a.m. Eastern time, or in a universal perspective, 8 o'clock in a coordinated universal time, based on the designated time on Deribit, which is the dominant exchange for cryptocurrencies option. It seems like the propensity of the momentum of the expiry is driving more of a selling pressure across the board with the spread between put and call options in that spectrum. And also on top of the fact, remember today is a Friday and tomorrow is a Saturday, which as we mentioned in the past, that weekend affectation has in play. And also with respect to the equity market today, we are seeing some propellants across the whole equity spectrum. A lot of driving pressure. That's a lot of purchasing on the equity portion, which subsequently have some anti-correlation effects onto the crypto side. So is this sell-off over? Are going to see more sell-off coming, right? Knowing the fact that tomorrow's a Saturday, and typically Fridays and Saturdays are typically selling red days, right? Ahead of the Sunday, which historically has been more of a black swan events type of days with the last three consecutive negative news that we've experienced on the last three Sundays so far. However, prior to that has always been a relatively green day on rebounding from the previous two negative days. So let's see what's going to happen, right? By going through the technical analysis, by identifying the key resistance level to dollar cost average at, so we can risk mitigate accordingly and dollar cost average accordingly to build that long-term value proposition that we're all looking for. So let's look at the technical analysis together. So stay tuned, stick around, and let's make some money. Right, so moving on to the technical analysis for Ethereum ticker ETH, you can see that as I'm looking on an hourly perspective this time, just to look at the time frame a little bit more precise on the hourly time frame, we typically look at a more daily time frame to look at more the macro dynamic rather than looking more incrementally in a meticulous perspective. And you can see that as I'm recording right now at 10 o'clock a.m. on the Eastern time, we're currently down about 7% again, 1857 at the price level right now. And just to recap on the time frame ever since midnight last night, you can see that on 6/25/0005, you basically had that driving selling pressure with that negative anticipation of the options expiry that's going to occur at 4 a.m. on the Eastern time, right? And you can see that as we progress during the day, nighttime, if you may, you can see that the option expiry with a kind of a mixed batch between call and put options, with obviously with a higher propensity on the negative side of the spectrum, that subsequently drive that mega red candle that you see here, right? And then subsequently with all the contracts expiring, and also on top of the fact a lot of just shaking off of the market as a whole on the international side of the perspective, that subsequently drive a little bit more fear among the spectrum, right? You could see that with respect to on a hourly basis, we were highly oversold on all levels, right? But let's look at that on the daily spectrum to have a more realistic macro view. Okay, comparable to the hourly chart, right? With respect to the daily perspective, similar to it. And currently, we are basically hovering. Despite the negative affectation that we've had so far, we are basically bouncing around the resistance level that we've identified to you previously and days before the $1860 level, right? And with respect to this level that we're testing right now, we are basically struggling at the moment. We are consolidating, but with a higher propensity of going downward right now. And the reason I say this because today, with respect to the Friday affectation and the weekend affectation for Saturday, the momentum hasn't really fully baked in yet, right? With respect to West Coaster in the US, most people haven't woke up yet. And with respect to East Coaster, right, the market hours doesn't really start to determine the directions of the momentum up until around noon time on both the equity spectrum, but also on the crypto spectrum because the anti-correlation effects, right? So something we need to watch out for as we approach 4 hours before the equity market close, we might see a little bit more of a selling pressure across the board for crypto, or the other way around, depending on how the equity market's going right now, right? And you can see on that SPY right now, we are basically up about 0.18%, and with respect to Nasdaq, we're up about 0.09, well, down about 0.09%. So we kind of have a mixed bag right now, which is the reason why, with respect to Ethereum, despite the option expiry and the media affectation and the weekend affectation that we've had so far, it's kind of trading sideways right now, struggling at the $1860 level, right? So do I see more sell-off coming? Do I see more of a pump coming? I think based on the facts that we see right now, with respect to the 1860, and you can see how substantive this level is right now. Let's look at this line specifically, okay? Let me turn this color into green so we can look at this in a more precise manner. So let's zoom in real quick, right? So you can see that this is the line that we're kind of hovering at the moment. And let's look at how substantive it is historically. You kind of have to go back pretty far, right? You could see that the level of substantiveness that we have formed historically do range from basically March 07 all the way to March 20th, all the way to March 30th. So we had like a 1 month duration of consolidation. So I would say this level is relatively substantive. So if I was you, I wouldn't mind actually buying a little bit today. Maybe if you have $1,000, maybe spend $100 or just 10% of your cash balance, right? And with respect to the Saturday affectation on the weekend, which we have seen consecutively now, I think the last 5 weekends has always been a red Saturday, that buying at the $1750 level, right? Again, I keep mentioning this number over and over again. This is like the golden number that we have a high propensity of going to this weekend ahead of the Sunday rebound that we should be expecting, right? But contingent on no more black swan news that's going to be occurring on Sunday, right? I realize that a lot of media publication companies love to publish these black swan news to kind of change the course of nature for the market on that specific day. Maybe they know about the resistance level that we have been talking about. Maybe they know about how that can correlate with the market dynamics on that day specifically. And that's why they decide to put the news out on that specific day to kind of net cancels out that affectation to make it look less obvious, if you may. I don't know if that's a coincidence that they try to portray, but for those that can see through the lens and see between the lines, or detect the BS, if you may, we know that those are the days that we want to maybe double pump our purchasing on that front because, because of that coincidence that we just have to, not be shaken by their manipulations, by their influence, right? So logically speaking, I think currently at the level 1860 would be a great level to buy it if you have some cash on the side, just to have some risk appetite on this front, right? But not a lot, just minimally, incrementally buying. And if we hit like the 1780, 1750, apologies, that would be a great level to buy in, right? Do we see 1500, right? I think the likelihood of getting there will be relatively low, knowing the fact, again, right, the RSI, we are basically drilling oil in the ground right now. So can we drill more oil? Are we gonna go to the or like go down even to the core of the earth? I don't think so, right? That's a very difficult task to do. Based on the technical analysis and a logic perspective and supply demand dynamics perspective as well, it doesn't make any sense right now. That I do foresee some selling pressure because of the fact that we have a more curvature downward right now, that we need to scoop up slowly by slowly bouncing off the RSI, cool down a little bit with respect to the selling pressure. And then as we get down to the more pressurized level zone, right, which will be the next level of resistance, the 1750, we should be bouncing relatively healthily going forward, right? But tomorrow is Saturday, today is Friday, and the application hasn't fully baked in yet. So we have to be aware of. We also have to watch out for the equity market on how that anti-correlates, right? Because as the equity market goes down, which I see some propensity doing so right now, you can see that Tesla is kind of going down ever since testing that all-time high based on my technical analysis video that I did yesterday, that we foresee this to be happening. It's hard for Tesla to crack above the 700, right? And with respect to SPY and NASDAQ right now is kind of pulling down right now based on the pump that we've seen. You could see the green candle we've formed so far. You could see that up and away that we've formed so far, that whatever goes up really, really fast, it needs to normalize for us to retest, right? So as this goes down, we should have some buying pressure on the crypto side, just how it anti-correlates. So net might be cancels out. We might have a relatively flat day today. We don't know, right? But we have to look at these trends to identify. But to do that, no matter where the market goes, you can mitigate your risk by dollar cost averaging at the right level. So again, right, 1860 would be the current level. Next level 1750, right? If we get down to 1550, I will probably sell something, a big part of my equity portion to buy at these levels, because that will be an extremely large outlier to the trends. It will be just a black swan event dip that will rebound extremely sharply. That wouldn't make sense at a larger perspective, that whoever gets in at those lucky price will be rewarded majorly. But you have to be basically hawking your Coinbase app or your Binance app or whatever app to try to get those numbers, and you have to also hope that your Coinbase app that doesn't fail on you, because those are oftentimes questionable events that occurs. That causes that huge volatility in play, right? Often manipulated by a whale or corporate investor that we don't know, because we don't have the scene behind the doors. But something we know based on how the logics is in play. When you see something like that happen, the best thing to do is to buy at the dips, because that's the best form of risk mitigation, and that's how you can maneuver through the market cycles going forward. To recap on all the numbers and the technical analysis, I feel like I'm repeating myself based on what I said yesterday already. So with respect to the entry price point, again, right, we are testing this level all over again, the 1860, which I've mentioned to you in the previous times, that this would be a great level to buy in as a fair valuation, right? But if you want to get to a more of attractive level, the golden number again, right, is 1750 that I keep mentioning over and over again. And respect to the 1580 or the 1550, right? Again, that's a black swan event number, right? If we get there, sell something to buy at these level, but the opportune time for you to get in, I think the golden time for you to get in could be relatively sharp, that you have to be pretty swift for you to get into these numbers, right? And also you have to hope that Coinbase or whatever apps that you're using doesn't crash on you or malfunctions on you. I feel like there's some manipulation that's going on with the app, that they shut down at a certain time to allow more corporate investors or whales to buy at a certain time, which I've seen those occurrences, happen quite frequently. And these are way too coincidental for us, with some analytical mindset or logical perspective, can detect these type of BS, if you may, right? But with respect to corporate adoption, contingent on the corporate adoption of 20%, $9,800, 12 months from now, 5.3 times your money if you buy at this level right now. So that's it for their respect my technical analysis on Ethereum ticket ETH. Hopefully this is helpful. Hope you guys all have a great rest of the Friday as well. We look forward to the weekend coming. And please feel free to ask me any questions if there was anything unclear, or if I went through it too fast, if you may. I'm happy to, specifically address a certain questions that you might have. And please hit the like button, subscribe button, and also the bell notification. And watch out for next coming up.